Let's go ahead and check out your top stories this morning. We're continuing to learn more about the attack on two National Guard members in Washington, D.C. One of them, 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom, has died from her injuries. The second guard, 24-year-old Andrew Wolf, is in critical condition at the hospital. The FBI says a terrorism investigation is underway on both coasts as authorities comb through evidence to determine why the suspect drove from Washington State to Washington, D.C. with a loaded handgun.
We will not stop until we interview anyone and everyone associated with the subject, the house, and every piece of his life.
The CIA says the suspected gunman traveled to America in 2021 after the United States withdrew from Afghanistan. He had previously worked with the intelligence agency overseas. A Department of Homeland Security official tells CBS News he was granted asylum earlier this year on humanitarian grounds. Because of this, the Trump administration says it's pausing the processing of all immigration applications from Afghan nationals. In August of 2021, former President Biden directed DHS to support vulnerable Afghans as part of Operation Allies Welcome. Approximately 76,000 Afghans have been evacuated to the United States through that program. Minnesota has welcomed 1,363 Afghans between 2021 and 2022 as part of Operation Allies Welcome. President Trump has also ordered the government to re-examine the green cards of thousands of people. He listed 19 countries of concern, including Somalia and Burma. Minnesota has a large number of immigrants from both places. There are about 140,000 green card holders in Minnesota, according to recent estimates. WCCO's Connor White has more on the impact on Somali people living in Minnesota.
The president using a portion of his address to the nation Wednesday night to target Minnesota's Somali population.
Hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state.
He's also directing a review of all green card holders from Somalia and threatened to end temporary protected status, or TPS.
Billions of dollars are lost, and
activist Christopher Rufo is claiming credit for catching the president's attention. He co-authored this article in the conservative City Journal, claiming Somali terror group Al-Shabaab received millions of dollars from the high-profile fraud schemes in Minnesota.
This story has no legs, unfortunately, but it is an attack.
Jilani Hussein, a Somali American leading the nonprofit Care Minnesota, calls it an Islamophobic smear campaign. He points to findings like this one on a similar issue from 2019, with the Minnesota Office of the Legislative Auditor unable to substantiate the allegation that Minnesotans sent money stolen from a state child care program to a foreign terrorist organization. The report acknowledging it was possible, but they didn't find any evidence.
Do you have any reason to believe that there's any truth to this idea that dollars are flowing from Minnesota to this terrorist organization?
Absolutely not, because one of the things that's a lot easier to track is money.
While dozens of people of Somali descent face fraud charges or have been convicted of fraud, the government has not brought forward evidence that any of the defendants are funding terrorism. Instead, the cases focus primarily on people trying to make themselves rich.
But this is the old tricks of divide and conquer and to stew fear.
In Minneapolis, with photojournalist Tony Peterson, Connor White, WCCO News.
Ending TPS status for Somalia would impact more than 400 Minnesotans. The Homeland Security Secretary will make that final decision. Late last night, President Trump posted a lengthy message on social media vowing to, quote, permanently pause migration from poor nations. Minnesota was once again mentioned in that post. The president again claimed immigrants from Somalia are, quote, completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota, end quote. He then used an outdated slur for intellectually disabled people to describe Governor Tim Walz. This is a developing story, and WCCO will continue to keep you updated on the latest on air and online. New details on a water main break in Coon Rapids that closed part of 121st Avenue Northwest. According to city officials, water was expected to be back on at midnight. So far, no word yet on if that has happened. But the city tells us there is another water main break on 121st Avenue impacting a group of townhomes in that area. Crews have been working overnight. We'll continue to update you as the city sends out more information. In international headlines, we're continuing to follow updates out of Hong Kong after a massive fire tore through residential high-rises. The death toll has now reached 128 people, but the city's Secretary for Security told reporters the search for victims will continue and that number could still rise. There are still roughly 200 people unaccounted for. Efforts finally wrapped up today to extinguish the fire that started on Wednesday. Officials say the cause of the fire is unknown and an investigation will take weeks. Major renovations were happening at the time of the blaze. 3 men from the construction company have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter.